What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how you can get easy wins in Fortnite Star Wars update. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and comment down below how many crown wins you've gotten so far in Season 2, because we are getting very close to the end of the season. So, for this gameplay, and the spot I recommend landing at right now to get easy wins is going to be Rebels Roost, because this POI got a lot better in the Star Wars update. Not only is it like an often like pretty secluded POI with like a solid amount of loot, but in the Star Wars update, the Spirit Hunter Seiko NPC was added at Rebels Roost, and she sells a purple gatekeeper shotgun. So you can loot up this building, and if you don't come away with a decent shotgun, you can just buy the purple gatekeeper from her. And it has a pretty decent chance of coming with drum mag. It won't always come with drum mag, but it has a solid chance to. And there even is some weapon cases upstairs, which typically will have like okay rarity loot, which maybe you get lucky with and find like a good AR, good SMG, or even like a sniper. Once you're finished looting Rebels Roost, just outside the like a bit away, like across the street, the Mina NPC is there, and she sells a purple Reaper sniper rifle, and she can also be hired to be a scout specialist who will mark enemy players in the nearby area, which is pretty OP. If you guys don't know how these scanner NPCs work, periodically they just kind of emit a radar pulse and mark everything nearby. This could be very good for when you enter any sort of new area. It could be very good for in-game, and it could be very good for finding like anybody like hiding. So getting a guaranteed sniper from her and getting a scout NPC is great. If you do want to use a sniper, some people right now don't really care for the Reaper sniper and they'd rather use water bending, which is fine, but having that option there is really nice. And then down the street at the gas station, the dummy NPC, which was also added in the Star Wars update, sells shockwave grenades and a purple thunderburst SMG. And there's also a weapon bunker nearby the gas station that it's not going to be opening at this point in the game. It opens at third zone, but you can check if it will open while you're here or like on your way to the gas station. Because if there's supplies outside the weapon bunker and no chains on the door, then that means it will open at third zone. If there are no supplies outside the door and chains on the door, then it will not open. So you're not going to be able to take advantage of this right now, but it could be nice to know for later on. And what makes this strat pretty OP, I think, is that obviously you can get a high rarity gatekeeper shotgun, a sniper if you want it, a scout or a scanner NPC, shockwaves, and a high rarity thunderburst if you want to use that in every match, guaranteed pretty much, from a pretty secluded, easy to loot drop spot. This will obviously cost a lot of gold to buy this every game, but there may be times where you don't need to buy everything. Like you might loot Rebels Roost, get water bending, and use that instead of a sniper. You might get 4 shockwaves and only need to buy 1 set from the dummy. You might already have like a decent Warforged AR or thunderburst and not have to buy it. But just like the potential guarantee of all these things, I think makes your games very consistent, because at a worst case scenario, when you just get terrible loot, you'll be able to use these NPCs to supplement. If you just find no gatekeeper, you can buy it. If you find no shockwaves at all, you can buy them. If you find no sniper, you can buy it. It's just like makes things very consistent. And while it might be expensive, it's often not going to be that you have to buy everything. And I'm also just not really concerned with spending gold because of how easy it is to get in Team Rumble and the fact that the season is going to be ending in 2 weeks. I'll have a video on gold farming linked in the description below. EMPs were vaulted in the Star Wars update, so it takes a bit longer to farm gold, but I still think it's super easy to get it in Team Rumble, and you can get several thousand gold in just like 10 minutes or so by going to the weapon bunkers once they open up. And so once you've completed that loot path, you have very good loot, and loot to the point where you probably don't need to be concerned with it for the remainder of the game, right? Like you have your shockwaves, you have a good gatekeeper, you probably have a decent spray weapon, and you probably have a decent ranged weapon. And so I feel like you have 2 choices. You can either go for Grim Gate afterwards or go for a radio tower. Personally, I prefer to try to like third party Grim Gate, because I think that medallion is the most OP thing in the game right now, and having the Grim Gate medallion not only gives you a huge advantage in fights, but you also don't have to worry about beating the player who has the Grim Gate medallion later on. So like not only do you get that advantage, but you don't have to like play against it, which I think not having to play against it is a pretty big advantage. And there is green water, which can make it pretty easy for you to get from the gas station to Grim. Like you can just get in the water and then spam dash as you make your way to Grim. And you should get there on decent timing to clean up the last fight or eliminate the final team or player while they're fighting the boss. This timing can vary. Like sometimes maybe nobody lands Grim and the team that lands there has an easy time, or you get like weirdly a very populated Rebels Roost landing. But typically it should be much easier for you to do your loot path than it should be for Grim to clear Grim. So you should get there on decent timing. And having the scanner NPC also makes this a lot easier to clean up Grim, because it should help you kind of like mark the area and know if anybody is hiding in any spots or just where the final players are, so you can like quickly eliminate them, get the medallion, and get out of there. I recommend going Grim because you're probably going to have to play against it at some point anyway, so you might as well get that out of the way earlier on in the game. And just in general this season, I feel like a lot of the better teams are landing Grim. So like if there's a, like let's say you're a 2 out of 10 player and there's another 10 out of 10 player in the lobby going Grim, I feel like it's better just to like third party them, maybe get the elimination, or die to them early on in the game rather than making it 20 minutes into the match just to die to it anyways. Like you kind of get what I'm saying? Like if it's going to happen, I feel like you might as well get it out of the way early on so that you can go into the next match and hopefully have better odds. So I think Grim Medallion is a huge advantage. Getting those better teams out of the lobby is a huge advantage. And so getting here with the scanner NPC and already really solid loot, I feel like gives you a decent chance to get rid of those better players and get the Grim Gate Medallion. If you really just don't feel like fighting Grim or the timing isn't good, like maybe someone already got it and left, then you can try to go for a radio tower, which one of the bosses at the radio tower will spawn 30 seconds into second zone. And you should have more than enough time to loot Rebels Roost and then go to a tower before the boss is going to spawn, and then quickly eliminate the boss and get the card in. I think it's really unlikely that you get both Grim and the tower, just from my experience this season. That rarely happens, especially because there aren't very many towers near Grim. Like the nearest one is kind of like outside Lavish, and just dealing with Grim usually takes a decent amount of time. So I feel like usually I'm not able to get both tower and Grim, so I'd choose Grim over the tower. But going for the tower isn't terrible. I just think Grim is a huge advantage, and you can actually see which towers are going to spawn in your match when you're in the battle bus. If the tower is there on the map, then the boss will spawn 30 seconds into second zone, and so you can kind of plan this out as you're on the battle bus and see which towers are going to spawn if you don't want to go Grim. But again, I highly recommend going Grim. In third zone, the bunkers will open, the weapon bunkers where you can customize your weapon, and personally I'd recommend taking advantage of them, but you might not have to depending on what loot you're using. Like if you got the purple gatekeeper all spawn with drum and you're happy with that, maybe you got a decent Warforged or Thunderburst already with attachments you like, and the sniper you bought might have came with attachments you liked, or if you prefer waterbending or the Wookiee bowcaster, those items can't get attachments. So you may or may not have to go for the bunkers, but it's again one of those things where like if you don't have the attachments that you like or the weapons that you need to like win the game, I highly recommend going for it. Like just making it in game with really bad loot and then losing to someone who has good loot, I don't think is the play. And for the rest of the game, it's a bit harder to give advice on because every match can play out differently. But in the mid to late game, I just kind of like to, or in the mid game, I just like to try to hunt down the other medallion players and get them out of the match. And then when it comes down to in-game, play zone a bit more and try to put myself in the better spots to take advantage of that. But so much of mid and late game decisions are situational, and it's like the further you've gotten in the match, the harder it is for like this generic advice to work out. I do have an Inside the Mind video I uploaded last week playing out from this landing spot. That will be linked in the description below. That series in general, I feel like kind of goes over a lot of the mid game decisions a lot better than I could in a video like this, because you gotta get to watch them as they're happening. And I will let some gameplay play out of a recent game I got that was pretty good from the Rebels Roost drop spot and just kind of running this strat that I'll have playing now on screen. But that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting. As always, if you did, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Is season solid? It's fine. It's a lot better than last. I'd give it like a B, probably. There's a person in that bunker? Yeah, I know. But there's also a lot of people left around. And so if I go down into that bunker to fight him, we probably just immediately get third partied. And it's not going to be a fight that I win cleanly. And I'm also not like incredibly desperate to customize my weapons because like I have okay stuff. Like I have drum mag on my gatekeeper already. My sniper had 4x, my burst had laser. Like my attachments were okay. Like it could be improved, but it wasn't like in the dumpster. Like if I had no scope on my sniper or I was using a Warforged with no scope, then I probably would have been more inclined to like force the attachments, but like I could have not gone to the workbench this game and it'd be fine. I'd say it broke the tradition of season 2 of a chapter always slapping. Yeah, I just don't even think that tradition was real. Like chapter 1 season 2, I enjoyed the game in that time. If we had that level of change from a season today, I don't think people would accept it. Standards were lower then. Obviously we did get like tilted mid-season changes and stuff, but like I feel like that season is like very overhyped just because it was like very early on in the game. And I played since the second day the game came out. Chapter 2 season 2 was incredible. But also once the delays started, it was, I think. Chapter 3 season 2 I thought was like mid-ish. Like it wasn't bad, it wasn't great in my opinion. I think a lot of people's opinion of that would maybe differ just because maybe it is better. Because that season added zero build. Which, like I was going to say, that's what would make some people's opinion of it very different. If they're like zero build only, obviously that season is great for them. But it also added sprinting and mantling, which are pretty big changes. But like the weapon meta that season was fucking terrible. Like jetpack drum shoddy. They had tanks in the battle buses. I've never been more depressed to get on and play a Fortnite season than that season. Like when I saw the launch trailer for it. Turned out to be very good, but like my thoughts going into that season was not like I was not excited. And then chapter 4 season 2 I thought was very, very, very good. Again, it got kind of crazy at the end with there was like a Star Wars update, an Attack on Titan update, and I think like Spider-Man all at the same time. But I feel like those trends are just like very like cherry picked. I don't know. The same with season 3. Like people say season 3s of chapters always suck. And like for that, I think they exclude chapter 2 and 1. So basically they just mean that like chapter 3 and chapter 4 season 3 were kind of not great. And I agree with that, but like, I don't know. I just don't think the number of this season matters that much. Like, I don't think it's going to determine the outcome of the season. Especially because they were bad for different reasons. Like, Chapter 3, Season 3, I feel like there was just not a lot of updates. Like, people have been gassing that season now because Donald Mustard said it was the last season that he, like, directed or whatever. But, like, it was just kind of boring because it was too long and there wasn't a lot of updates. For a lot of it. Like, it kind of picked up towards the end with, like, Dragon Ball. But, like, the summer event was kind of terrible. And then before that, a lot of the updates were just kind of meh because the weapons they added weren't great. And then Chapter 4, Season 3 is just, like, where to even begin, you know? Like, the map changes were terrible. The meta was terrible. I feel like the theme of the season was kind of not great. The summer event was also bad. But not as bad as the previous one, I thought. But it didn't end, or it didn't last super long, luckily. And based off the leaked roadmap thing we got, it seems like Chapter 5 Season 3 will not be absurdly long. Thank you for the raid, Heat. How's your stream? There's somebody in here, I think, because this NPC is mad and I did nothing to her. Yeah. And you just want to exist and then get to that as it opens up. Everyone's just playing snipes. That's huge. I think that player is like decent. But we made them waste a lot of shots already. Alright, we get in. Orange rocks on the ground. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. Not paying attention to that. Let's go. Mina the goat no scoped them. No whites here. If there's water bending, I can pick that up and heal in that water. Flashes, that's huge. Even if it's just one. Get in. Mina kind of carrying facts. She hit her shot when it mattered. I think that's the only shot she hit all game, but I'm just concerned about getting third partied. That thing had a crown. 1v1. GG's. Dash medallion, too good, man. Just anytime he like catches up to looking at me, we just dash again. And then the fight is pretty much unplayable for him.